They danced under the moonlight, feet sinking into the soft river sand, laughter echoing through the night. Amara had never felt this light before, and Kofi, he looked at her like she was the only star in the sky. "You are my heart," he whispered, pressing his forehead to hers. She smiled, closing her eyes. "Then I will never let it break. If only love could stop time. If only the river could keep them safe forever. But the river never keeps secrets. And love cannot stop fate." A long time ago, in a small village by the great river, lived a girl named Amara. She was the kind of girl everyone loved. She laughed easily, danced with grace, and spoke with kindness. People in the village said she was the spirit of joy itself. When she walked through the market, the children ran to her, the elders smiled, and the men whispered about her beauty. But Amara never cared for the whispers. She cared only for one person, Kofi. Kofi was a fisherman. He was strong, quiet, and had eyes that saw everything. He was not the richest man in the village, not the most powerful. But he was the one who made Amara laugh. Since they were children, they had been inseparable. They climbed trees, raced through the fields, and sat by the river for hours, talking about dreams they could not name. But as they grew older, something changed. Kofi began to pull away. He still smiled at her, still listened when she spoke. But he never said the word she longed to hear. "You are my best friend," he would say. And Amara would smile, though her heart ached. She knew why. Kofi was a fisherman. She was the chief's niece. And soon, her family would choose a husband for her, someone with wealth, someone with power. Someone who was not Kofi. Every year, the village held a great harvest festival. There was food, music, and dancing under the full moon. That night, Amara searched for Kofi. She found him by the river, fixing his boat. "You are not coming to dance?" she asked. Kofi smiled but shook his head. "I have nothing special to offer you, Amara." Her heart clenched. "Then dance with me with empty hands." "I do not need gold, Kofi. I just need you." For a moment, he hesitated. Then, slowly, he took her hand. And together, they walked back to the village. The music played, and they danced. She spun in his arms, laughing as he lifted her off the ground. For the first time in a long time, he let himself hold her, let himself believe, just for tonight, that she was his. "You are my heart," he whispered. She smiled. "Then I will never let it break." And in that moment, nothing else mattered. But the river does not stop for love. And fate does not wait for happiness. The next morning, Amara was gone. Kofi waited by the river all day. He waited until the sun set, until the moon rose, until the night grew cold. She never came. The next day, the village was silent. Faces were grim. "Amara is gone," an elder said. "The chief's son has taken her. She is to marry him in the next village." The word struck Kofi like a spear. He ran to her home, but the doors were shut. The windows dark. He ran to the market, to the elders, to the fields. But everywhere, it was the same. Amara was gone. Kofi went to the river, to their place, and called her name. But only the wind answered. For 3 days, he did not eat, did not sleep. He sat by the water, staring at the path she used to walk. Then, on the 4th night, he saw her. She stood at the edge of the river, hair loose, eyes wet. "Kofi," she whispered. He ran to her, heart pounding. "Amara." She fell into his arms, sobbing. "I never left. They took me. They locked me in a room. But I ran. I ran all night." Her feet were bare, her dress torn. Her hands shook as she held on to him. "Come with me," he said. "We will leave. We will go where no one can find us." She nodded. They ran to his boat, pushing it into the river. The water was dark, but the moon lit their path. As the village woke the next morning, the chief's son and his men searched for Amara. But she was gone, lost to the river song. Some say they reached a new land, where they built a home by the water. Others say the river took them, and on full moon nights, if you listen closely, you can hear their laughter dancing on the wind. But here is the truth. The river never let them go. Amara was too weak from running. Her body could not take the journey. Halfway across the river, she collapsed in his arms. "Kofi," she whispered. "I am tired." He held her close. "Just a little longer, my love." But she only smiled. "I will wait for you," she murmured. Then she was gone. Kofi did not cry. He did not scream. He simply kissed her forehead, held her close, and let the river take them both. The next morning, the villagers found his boat. Empty. Floating on the water. No one ever saw them again. But if you stand by the river at midnight, you will see them. Two figures, dancing on the water, forever lost in love.